Alright, so I'm not going to ramble too much about this. This is going to be a character rigging tutorial. Okay, and a kind of unconventional one too. So say you're a student sitting in class and you really like animation, but you kind of hate character rigging, right? You wish there was a way to just kind of get a character up and going, and you can just animate to your heart's content and kind of do whatever with it and maybe experiment with stuff or make something kind of crazy. Biped is a little bit too much for you right now, and bones, building an entire character out of bones may not be working. So are you looking for another way? Well, this is an option. It's really a couple of options. I'm gonna go over the first one and then I'll introduce you to a second one and we'll let you decide. But this is really just a fast, down and dirty tutorial that's all about getting a character up and moving as fast as humanly possible. So let's go. So the first thing I'm gonna do is bring up Max right here. This is Max 2016. Yes, I know 2018 is around, 2019, blah, 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 but 2016 is a few versions back. A lot of people use it. It's really stable. So sticking with that for this tutorial for now. Maybe I'll move on to 2018 in a little bit, but that shit's buggy. Anyway, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna model a really quick, stupid character. Alright, cool. Now we got a guy. So let's rig this dude. And first off, before I get going, let me say that this is generally not the way people do things, right? This is like clutch situation territory. Generally speaking, you would build your character accurately, you would use bones, you would have rigs and controllers and numerous other things that can be much better built by a professional rigger. This is not going to lead you down a road of becoming a professional rigger, all right? This is just baby's first rig. So keep that in mind.
Oh.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come all the way down here to Systems, and we're going to go to Biped. Now, Biped is a full-featured character animation tool where you can pipe in animations. It's actually incredibly powerful. You can do a lot with it. I tend to hate it a lot. I'm not a big animator, but I do know this. So we're going to drag out a biped. Bam. Just like this, right on top of our character. And I'm going to move forward assuming that you've never touched biped and you've never made a bone. Okay, so again, that's the audience for this tutorial. So now that I've drawn a biped out, you can come down to motion right here. So it's standard under create. To get to biped, you go down to systems. There is biped. To get to this, you come down to motion up here on the top. And here's where you can control biped. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go into figure mode, where you can change this character around. Down here, it gives you a lot of options. You get neck links, right? Makes a lot of sense. One is going to be fine for this. If you start orbiting around, you can see what's going on here. So we're just going to put this guy exactly in this other dude's place. And he lines up pretty well, truthfully, like right off the bat. So let's just get him over here. Additionally, if you turn this off and start moving this around and then turn it back on, see what happens? Right? So don't do that. It's just going to snap back to its original position and you're going to lose all that work. So make sure you're in figure mode when you do this. You know, you can put tails on this guy, dog legs, all kinds of stuff, but we're going to keep it real simple. We're just going to make sure he's got 5 fingers. The fingers have 3 links. All right, that gave us hands. We're not going to need toes, so we just get rid of that. It doesn't go down to 0, so we can just leave that little nub on the end. Come up to here, and this is where we're going to get crazy. So when you grab these guys, you can just scale these dudes around. Additionally, if you don't like skeleton, you can change it to male, female, or classic. I'm just going to stick with skeleton. Why not? So you can generally just move this stuff about. You can grab this guy and just kind of move it down here knowing that this has to be the shoulder socket, and you can just start positioning this stuff as best you can. Now you can scale this stuff, just make sure you're in local mode, and you can scale this stuff around all you want. You can scale it this way, you can scale it this way. It's best not to get too crazy with this stuff, and you can't actually rotate this thing in certain directions, right? Like if I try to rotate it like this, it can only go this way. which is, you know, just one of those things. Again, you can grab the hand and kind of move it around from there. So put the hand right here, know that that's a little off. We want to get that elbow down a little bit. You're gonna have to rotate it, and then you're gonna have to like bring this up, and then like bring this like that, and this is gonna take a minute, all right? So I'm just gonna breeze through this stuff really quickly so you don't feel like you're wasting a lot of your time. So once you have this thing kind of set up on the other side like this, you can just grab all these guys real quick, come down here under copy and paste, create a collection, and then if you just go copy posture, you can actually grab the stuff that you have different, you can copy it, and then you can paste it to the opposite side really quickly. See how that worked? So I'm gonna undo that easy. Now I went really quickly, so I'm gonna do it again slower. We're gonna back up a little bit. He's not symmetrical. Select them all. And there's no collection right here. Though I mean there is a collection, but let's delete all collections. So this is the base mode. You select the entire guy, create a collection, copy the posture, take what's different on the other side. If it needs to be symmetrical, you can copy it, and then you can paste it. Adversely, you can do it from that side to that side. You can do whatever you want. Like, it's just really handy. So I haven't done the fingers yet, but now that I've got this set up, I can just do it whatever. I can do whatever I want. So let's do the fingers real quick. I'm gonna unhide my dude. Let's get in here and line up some fingers. And what I'm gonna do right now is I'm actually going to apply material to this guy because he's really annoying. And I'm gonna bring him down to like 5%. So I can just see through him. That's one way to do it, truthfully, and because Max has 100 ways to do everything, if you don't want to do it that way, you can right-click on him and go to Object Properties and make him see-through. Cool, but I kind of like being able to control the opacity, so I'm not going to do that. I like to be able to do whatever I want, so whatevs. Bam, there he is. He's basically a ghosty wireframe, and now I can get in on this hand and start adjusting these fingers. So let's do that right now. Let me stop right here and just say that the thumbs on a biped are stupid. Like, what the hell? Like, why? Just make it right. Make it, it's not what a thumb looks like, guys. Don't you know? Damn it. Oh, and here's a little tip right now because I realized that this is getting annoying, like I can't select these bones right away. But if you take this guy and freeze him, he turns solid gray, right? So let's unfreeze him. We'll select him, go into his object properties, and be sure and check show frozen as gray. Uncheck that, hit OK. Now you can come out here, freeze him, and he's not a problem anymore. Because he's annoying. Also, let me just say that fingers are absolutely the worst part of this. Oh my god. Alright, cool. Now that I got this hand looking kind of good, right? I can come into here, grab this entire arm with the shoulder blade, copy its position, paste it to the other side, bam, call it a day, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that this thing is perfectly pixel perfect lined up. It is not. Clearly, I did not look at the head, but this is a tutorial, so man, whatever. Anyway, so we're good and lined up here, right? And this is where we're gonna get weird with this. All right, so the next step is gonna be to take this biped rig. You're gonna select the whole thing. Well, let's just, you know, hide this dude. But we know this guy is in position, right? Or whatever, he's close. So we're gonna go up to Tools, we're gonna come down to Snapshot, and we're gonna make this guy a mesh. Single mesh, right here. Default settings. Hit OK. Move this dude out of the way, and now we have now it's been converted from a biped rig into edible meshes. So all of these now are independent pieces, and essentially what you have is a full-on character rig. So you can take the biped, which is right here, you can keep him, whatever, in case you know, screw all this up. But what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna take these guys And well, let's just check the links. So if we take this and move it around, that's linked. Take this, move it around, that's linked. Take this, move it, that's linked. All right, cool. So if this dude rotates, the arms go with. So he's already got all of his links set up. I mean, this is what's dope about this, right? Like he's already like kind of like in shape to do this. And he's got this like central controller right here. You can take these guys, you can link them to the central, to the hips, sure, whatever. Now when you take this and you move the hips, like he goes with it. And now we can finally start to rig this guy, right? So, to get into rigging, this is what it takes. You gotta come up here to animation, and you have to understand IK solvers. Inverse kinematics. Inverse kinematics are super awesome. They're a way of making connections between a chain of bones. If I'm going to explain what like an inverse kinematic is, right? It's making a connection on a chain of bones so you can like grab a control point on a single bone and then move the entire object around altogether. So right here, if I were to take this and move it around, like the whole arm doesn't go with it. That sucks, right? You want the arm to follow the hand, so all you have to do is animate the hand and not worry about the rest of the arm. Really, it'll just kind of automate itself. It's super awesome. So up in here under animation, you're going to go to IK solvers and you get 4 options. HI solver is the best option because Autodesk basically tells you on their website it's the preferred method for character animation and for any IK animation in long sequences. Like it just tells you it's the best. And getting back into here, there's the HD solver and the IK limb solver. So, all right, well, what if this one's the best and you've already told me that, then what the hell are these two? So I don't know, let's go check it out. The HD solver is well suited for use of animating machines, especially ones with sliding parts that require IK animation. Okay, and there's a bunch of more technical stuff. All right, cool. You know, IK limb solver, I mean, that sounds like something you would actually use on a limb, right? Like legs and arms. IK limb solver operates on only 2 bones in a chain. It's an analytical solver that is fast in viewports and can animate the arms and legs of a character. The IK limb solver can be used for export to game engines. All right, so then you're just like, all right, well, if you're going to a game engine, and this ends up becoming part of a pipeline, right? When you're in a studio, they're going to have a specific way that they do things, specific tools that use specific things. This is where all this comes in, and truthfully, you don't need to worry about any of this stuff. This is all pipeline nonsense. Just stick with an HI solver. It's the most well-rounded of all of them. It'll get done. It'll get everything you need to get done. Like you can rig everything with an HI solver. I mean, you're not going to run into any problems, and it's going to be fine. Like, just rig away, use HI solver, and even if you want to switch, you can always just delete it and rebuild it later using the other ones, just to experiment and play around. It'll be fine. Like, you're not going to need to worry about any of the other ones. HI is going to do it. It does everything. Because here's a problem right here, right? If I want to connect these 2 bones from here to the hand, going into an IK solver and using an IK limb solver, it'll do it right here, and it will connect, and I can control the hand. But if I try to connect more than 2 bones with the limb solver, right here, go from the shoulder blade to the hand, it'll stop at the elbow because it can only connect 2 bones, right? So then it's your choice at this point. Do you use an HI solver or an IK limb solver because you know you're only connecting 2 bones? You know, on their site, they tell you HI solver is the best one and the preferred one, so just stick with that until somebody tells you otherwise. HI solver it is, man. Take that down to the hand, and once you have it connected, you can control the hand with this HI solver, and it's super handy. It makes your whole animation life so much easier. Let's look at it from a different angle, make sure it bends correctly. Sure does. Does it bend? Sure does. So that's one step closer. And just as a rule of thumb, anything that we do over here, we're gonna have to do over here. So just keep that in mind. For character complexity, rigging pieces, what have you, you've got to do it all twice. There's not a lot of really good ways to like mirror stuff, and some rigging stuff kind of like freaks out on you, but doing this way, it's not really that big of a problem. But just keep in mind that rigging is a lot of steps and a lot of processes, and you got to do a lot of stuff over and over and over again. Like try to rig a tail. Just kill yourself now, man. So going into here, I've got an HI solver set up on this arm, And we're gonna put one over here, IK, HI, down to the hand, no problem, everything's good. So, now we're gonna do the legs. We're gonna come down here to the leg, look at it from the side, animation, HI solver down to the foot, check it, perfect. Come down here, animation, HI solver down to the foot, perfect. So now we have our next problem in the rig, right? We can grab this dude and move it around, but animating the hand's kind of a pain, and we're gonna need like some controllers and some constraints and stuff to kind of like keep things in a certain position while we move them around. Like right now when I move this, the hand kind of like moves in directions and stuff. Maybe you don't want it to do that. Maybe you want to control all that stuff. So let's get into putting controllers on this guy and setting up some constraints so you can see how this can be a little bit more useful. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a constraint on this hand right here. So you're going to go to the front and we're going to draw out, well, let's just hide this dude. And we're going to come over here to the create panel. We're going to go to shapes. We're going to draw out some circles. Now, if you ever see character rigs that have all this like cartoony nonsense all over it, this is how they do it. We're just going to make this an instance. We're going to make like 6 of them or whatever. Maybe even more than that. Let's just make a bunch. And so let's take this guy and we're going to come up here to a line right here. And there are multiple types of a line. This is this one, the one that looks like this, because again, everything's complicated. And you're going to select the hand and it's going to snap it to it. You're going to want it to be on the pivot point and you're going to want to align to the local axes. So you hit OK, and that's going to put this object right in line with that hand. And at this point, we can kind of like come in here and like mess with the radius and kind of get it just right. Maybe even make it renderable, enable in viewport where you can see it, and give it like 4 sides. And this is where all that cartoony rigging stuff comes in, right? The next thing you do is you take this guy right here and you link it to this guy. So that means from now on, this guy's running the show. You do not need to see this man anymore. So coming up into here, we'll notice that if I take this and I'm like, all right, well, this is awesome. This controls this whole arm. It'd be great if I rotated it around if it controlled this hand, right? And this is where your first constraint comes into place. A constraint will lock this object to the position of this object. And since we aligned this object to this object, when I constrain it to it, it shouldn't move. Now that sounds like a lot, but as long as you've done everything exactly the way that I've done it, this should totally work. Come up here to animation and you're going to see constraints. And what you're going to want is orientation constraint. It's going to give you a line and you're going to be able to select this dude, bam. Now it didn't move because the orientation of this object is my hand, because when I snapped to it, I aligned it to it perfectly. Now you're going to notice that I can move this hand. That's the most important part. This hand goes with that ring. And this arm goes with that ring. And you'll see that now the hand, as I move it, is locked to the alignment of this circle. That's awesome. You're rigging officially. And here's a little side note, something that you might want to know. After you take this hand and create this constraint, say you want to remove that constraint. So what you're going to run into is if you want to like get rid of this stuff, say you delete this and then you delete this, and then you try to move this around, you can move it on the X, Y, and Z, but if you try to rotate it, it's locked. Like its rotations are officially locked down now. So it's going to stay like that until you fix it. And ultimately what you have to do is come over to the motion panel, and then if you have rotation selected, come down here, position, rotation, scale. Inside rotation, you're going to see right here, there's a Euler XYZ and then an orientation node. And then you can just take this guy and hit delete. That's the orientation constraint that we applied earlier. That's where it pops up and you can see it. So now that you've deleted it, you can rotate this hand around, and that's a way of going back. So I just thought I'd add this little bitty thing in to show people how to undo that in case they find their stuff getting locked and they, get confused or anything like that. So moving forward. So a lot of the rest of this is going to follow that logic. All right, we're going to take another one of these rings. We're going to bring it out here. Cool, let's make it a copy instead of an instance. And I'm going to increase the radius a little bit because I'm going to have this be a hip controller. We're going to take this guy, we're going to go to our align again, we're going to come down here, we're going to snap it to the very center. It's already got everything remembered from last time, so it put it in place perfectly. So I already know that I'm going to take this dude and I'm going to link it to this, because I don't want to move his hips around by grabbing this thing in the center of him. I want to be able to grab something that's really easy to see and easy to grab. And that's much, much easier. So now if I move this around, you'll see. And this is actually, you know, you can go, oh, I'm rigging, you know, but hands and feet are messed up. So let's fix them. And now we're going to do it to the feet, right? So we're going to come up to here. We're going to grab a ring. We're going to align it to the foot. Bam. Should be perfect. Take the foot, create an additional constraint, orientation, grab the ring. Bam. Totally worked. Take this guy, which is our IK, and we're going to link it to the ring. Everything's good, and now it's linked, right? So now, when you take this and move them up and down, that foot's starting to feel a lot more real. All right. And again, we just have to repeat the process on the other side, like so. And now that that's done, we can take a look. Now that's looking a whole lot better. Our character's finally starting to kind of come together. So at this point, you get some options, right? Say you want your character rig to be able to scale and stuff like that. So you would just take this guy, copy him down to the base, hit OK, and go to the thing, increase the parameter. F, align it with the bottom of the feet. And you can scale this entire rig around by taking all of these things, like so, and linking them to this base one. And now if you grab this base one, you can scale this entire rig, like this. So now you have a completely scalable rig for a character that you can slap together in minutes. Like this, I mean, this is pretty much it. Like, you can create controllers for the head, you can create controllers for the fingers, you can create controllers for everything that you want on this character, but your basic character is right here. You can even do stuff like, if you want the arms to go with it, you can just link them to here, fine, whatever. Now when he rotates around, his hands will go with him, right? So it's like one less, you know, active motion you're gonna have to worry about. And you can animate this guy around. You can kind of do whatever. Yeah, you know, that's pretty much it. So here we are. So now I can unhide my character a little bit. I can unfreeze him and look at him right over the top and go, okay, well, he's right there. And I got a rig that's kind of in place, and at least I can pose the dude a little bit. So I'll tell you what, let's slap a skin on this guy. So you're going to come down to, you're going to come over here to Modifier Lists. You're going to hit this arrow down, and this is a huge long list, but keep in mind that it's mostly in alphabetical order by category, and you're going to be looking for skin. Say you come down and you find it under S, bam, there it is. But if you can't find what you're looking for and you know the name, you can just use your keyboard. S will start cycling through the S's. There's skin, hit enter, you have a skin applied. Now that we have a skin on here, we have to load in the bones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide all this, and I'm going to have just the bones visible that I want to use. I'm going to come over to here, and we're going to hit add, and underneath here you can go to bones, come down to list. All right, so let's just turn everything on, and here it is, right? So I have that other rig in the scene, which is stupid, so let's just do this right here. I'm gonna take this guy right here and delete him because this guy's in pretty good shape. I'm not gonna need him anymore. I got what I need. So at this point, I'm gonna take these and get rid of them. If I need more, I'll make them, whatever. So I can take this, and I can go to skin, I can hit add, come down to here. All of these are the bones. Look at them in their glory. Come all the way down. Don't grab the circles. You're not going to need those. Additionally, you can just hide them and they won't show up in the list. Hit select, and now you've added all the bones in. It's not really skinned, but it's kind of jank, and if you move it around right now, you'll see that he's kind of got a rig. I mean, of course, it's not perfect, right? But I mean, you got a character right now. So all you got to do is work on these envelopes. And I ain't gonna lie, envelopes suck. They suck real bad. So let's get into it. So getting into envelopes, man, all right. We're gonna come over to here, and what you're gonna notice is there's a whole lot of parameters down here. Inside here, you can select individual bones, and I'm gonna kind of walk you through this because this is really important. And I'm just gonna give you like a quick rundown of some of the stuff you're gonna need to know about this. So let's grab this skin and hide everything, right? Just so you can see what's going on inside of a skin parameter that has your bones loaded in. The first thing you're gonna wanna hit is edit envelopes. What that's going to do is show you every bone and its sphere of influence that's applied to it and what it's doing, right? So what you got going on here is red means absolute influence, and then of course it tapers all the way blue and into gray. Gray is no influence, blue there's a little bit. So you can see that as I was moving this character around, some places weren't grabbing, they were being left behind, a lot of stuff like that. It's really annoying. One way you could do it, theoretically, is say I want all these bones right here to affect this head 100%. That gradient feels fine to me, so you can select vertices, come up here, grab all these guys, down to the chin where you know it needs to be pretty solid, and then come down to here and go all the way up to 1, and that means absolute, right? You can even see that it changed color, right? As you move this up and down, it'll show you the influences. So bam, right there. Like, now it's 100%. So if I were to come out, unhide all, freeze my bro, grab the head, move that around, that head is on there. All those things are perfect, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab him, hide everything else, and we're just gonna keep working these skins. One way to do it too is if you unhide all and maybe like set some keyframes for these guys right here in case you move them at all. Just set a keyframe. Maybe even come down into here and like move this dude around so you can kind of check these things. Like this. And this. Which is stupid, but he goes into this position right here, so I can start making like, I can start changing these envelopes like this, and I'll see that this guy is like real messed up. Like he's like, I got a lot of work to do. Like this is gonna be a long night. So you come down into here, and I'm gonna try to make my long night a little bit shorter, right? So there's a couple of shortcuts. You can come down into your skin, and you can go to Voxel Solver. So right here underneath Weight Solver, it's got a Voxel Solver. And this is actually pretty cool, because it's gonna try to auto-solve this thing for me. So I'm gonna grab, oh my god, get out of here. Oh my god, get out of here. What bone are you? Oh, you're not, you're a footstep. Pfft, dumb. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna slick off vertices and slick off edit envelopes because I'm not gonna do this on like one guy. I'm gonna do this to the whole character right now. I'm gonna come down here to the weight solver. It's set to voxel, and you're gonna click this dude right here. Now, these are some parameters that are a little bit, you know, experiment worthy. Generally, if you hover over, it'll give you a little description. And this is like the handiest feature. I wish everything did this. Like, you know, I mean, like Max is pretty good about it, but it doesn't do it for this, right? If you come into here and you're like, new script, or like what these are, it doesn't give you descriptors. I wish it did. I wish everything did, but like these are pretty good, right? So the term fall off determines how smooth a bone blends. A weight of 0 is smoothest, a value of 1 is most rigid. Max influence, number of bones that can influence a vertex. A value of 0 lets the solver decide how many bones to use, right? So I'm gonna let the program take a shot at it, see how it does. Max resolution right here determines the density of the voxel structure to use. The more dense, the more accurate the solve, but at the cost of time. This thing doesn't take very long, don't worry. So we're gonna take this guy and we're gonna jack it up to 1024, because who cares? Well, fuck it, 512. And we'll see how it does. Use winding numbers as accuracy but slow to solve, sure. Turn off envelope gizmos. When solving weights with voxel or heat map, the weights are baked and envelopes are no longer have an effect on the weight of the skin. This option turns this display of the gizmos off. So those gizmos that I was moving around with, those sphere of influence things that you saw earlier, so if I were to come up to here to show you what those are again, You go to edit envelopes, you go to vertex, sure, you grab this guy and you see this little bubble, right? That's what that is. Those will be deactivated when you do this. So you're gonna be kind of stuck like painting the weights from this moment out. But let's just see how it does. So we got it all set up. We're gonna do here, we're gonna do 512. It resets every time because it's annoying. We're gonna hit apply. It's gonna think for a second. It'll let you know. Oh, there it goes. Bam. So it did some things. So let's see what it did. Let's move this guy around. And already I can say this sucker's looking a little bit better. Like, he's not completely amazing, but I mean, at least the leg creases. I'll take that, right? So I know what I got to do at this point. We're going to come into here. We're going to look at this. And we're going to start grabbing verts. We're going to go into edit envelope. We're going to grab a bone. Which is like this dude right here. We're going to look at this. And we can grab these vertices all the way to here. And then we can come down and just jack them up to 100%. No problem. Now, when he bends, that's going to stay rigid. And that's exactly what it should do. So this is just the second option. You can just come into here and do this for pretty much every joint. Grab the joint, grab the major, depending on how your character is modeled. And you're going to start to realize that the way your character is modeled matters a whole lot. Because if you have modeled your character like a complete and utter mess, and it's not simple with even flows and understandable geometry, then rigging it's going to be a nightmare, and you're going to realize pretty quick that that shit ain't going to fly in a studio setting. And it's best not to make a name for yourself, truthfully. So, you know, try your best to do it right every time. Grab the bone, come into here, grab these verts, and this is pretty much the story, right? Like, if it's good to have circles put on areas that inhibit good creasing, right? If I didn't have one right here and these were straight polygons, then that wouldn't crease properly. It would make my arm look funky. The way you model your stuff really, really, really matters when it comes to how it needs to move. You may have already figured that out, but in case you didn't, here we go. So this is, I'm just gonna keep doing this, right? And you set the weights, you do a little bitty check, that looks better, come out to here, grab the body, edit the envelopes, grab the bone, and then you just keep doing it, man. You just keep doing it. I mean, you kind of zen out doing stuff like this for the longest time, and man, I'll tell you what, you lose your mind. I mean, I'm just being real haphazard at this point, truthfully. Up the chain a little bit. Now, honestly, man, like, I'm not gonna do those. Like, I'm not doing the hands. This is a tutorial, man. Calm down. Now, I mean, this makes it so easy because the geo on this guy is like so nothing. Like, it's nothing. It makes, you know, doing this easy. But when you have million polygon characters, crazy geos, all kinds of stuff, you see how this could take you days. I mean, really, if your character is complex enough. That is a real reality, something you should absolutely take into consideration at all times. You know, like, this stuff is not easy. Additionally, you can remove influence, so I didn't want it to like affect this one because that one stuck to the one on the face. So anyway, let's come out to here. Let's get him out of his stupid crane pose and save. And we're going to grab him, all right, and let's just do some checks. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up my maps, I'm gonna turn him up, and I'm gonna grab these guys because I like my controllers and I want to see them. And I'm going to make a layer. Now, a layer is a good way to turn stuff on and off. So if I take all these, and I come over here, right here, toggle layer explorer, click on it, and if you come to here, create new layer, and you have these selected, it'll put them right in that layer. So now I can go controllers, bam. So if I turn this on and off now, bam, they'll disappear, so I can turn them off. I can grab him, do that, body, turn it on and off. Probably should have done all this in the beginning. And then, of course, rig, shirt, on and off. And if you just unhide all, it'll give you a warning that I say never do it again. Bam, there it is. All right, so here is everything. So let's turn the rig off. Let's come down here to my character and move him into his dumb position. But then let's change it, all right? Let's move it into a cool position. Let's try to get him looking a little bit better. Oh! All right, so immediately I can see I fucked his foot up. And so right here I can tell what I did was I grabbed a bone from up here and I had these selected still, which is a common mistake you make to go back to edit envelopes. It's easily rectifiable, especially because my character is so simple, truthfully. But you can just grab these guys again, come out, make sure nothing else is selected. The chin was. And you can make sure I have him. Which one? It'll be you. And we're going to bring the influence back up. Bam. And that fixed the foot, which was stupid. Sorry about that. But anyway, that's how you fix it. All right, so here's another thing. We're going to go back to the beginning real quick. And we're going to take all the work that we've done on this side of him and mirror it over just like we did the bones, right? And this is a little bit easier to understand. All right, so what we got to do is, in order to mirror this side to this side, it's kind of a process. You come into edit envelopes, and this is going to enable mirror mode. And essentially what this does is it looks at both sides, right? And you go paste green to blue bones, or paste blue to green bones, and then adversely you get paste green to blue verts, so on and so forth. So I'm interested in the verts, and I want to paste the green to the blue, right? So these are green, these are blue. I want to paste the green to the blue. And once you're in this mode, you can come down here and you can see that like this stuff right here is red, and you're going to notice that this is green. Essentially what you have to do is, this isn't going to be exactly accurate. Even though these bones are perfectly mirrored and everything, you're going to have to play around with this threshold. So down here, you get a mirror offset where you get like a little bit of, you know, where you get a little bit of leeway to like kind of change it around, but we're not going to mess with that. We're just going to raise up this threshold a little bit until these bones start to turn green. So when they start to turn green, that means they're within the threshold of the other side. And right now, looks like everything's pretty good. So we're going to come out here to our options, which is paste green to blue bones, and then it's going to be paste green to blue verts. So I'm going to try to paste green to blue verts. Hit that, and come out of mirror mode, and then let's do a little bitty movement test. And you can see that everything mirrored over pretty well, right? He's not going to be stupid anymore. Let's kind of take him a little bit more seriously. Now, he's not perfect, but let's see if we can get him in a cooler pose, right? So let's get him to his base like this, and we're going to turn on animation right now because we killed that keyframe earlier, and let's just kind of like bring him down and maybe forward, and here, let's take a foot, and you can see here that this foot can turn like this. And here's another thing too. So what you're going to notice here is that I can't swivel his knee like a knee should be able to swivel, right? So let's get him back to his base and add that functionality, because it's really never too late. If I unfreeze all and then unhide all, I'm going to take the body and I'm going to hide it, right? And we're going to create some new circles. And we're going to need 4 of these guys. Bam. And we're going to put them on the knees and the elbows. So what you do is you close that and come here, snap it to the knee, bam. Actually, let's do it a different way. Snap it to the knee, and we're not going to align. We're just going to snap it to the pivot point. Like that. We're going to snap this, and we're going to take this one, snap to you, and then snap to you. Now what we can do is we can take these, move them out a little bit, take these, move them out a little bit, And if you come into these guys and go into their parameters right here, underneath motion, so you're going to grab the HI solver, you're going to come to motion, and you're going to go down a little bit, and you're going to notice that right here it says IK solver properties, and there it says swivel angle, which is super cool. Now you can actually swivel it just by playing with this number. You can do it that way if you want, but you can also just tell it to look at this target. And when you do that, you can control the swivel in the knee. So you just go ahead and line these bad boys up, no problem. Cool, now he's got knees. Come here, link them back to the rest of the rig, and then do the same thing for the elbows. Swivel, bam, it will snap, but remember we already have our rig applied, so it's gonna take it with it. So, you know, these things kind of like change the angle, so if it is snapping, you just kind of have to move it around till it doesn't. Like, it's not an exact science. And then snap here, bam, and then now you can take these guys and then link them to the body, link them to the body, and now this entire rig should still scale. Sure does. Let's unhide everything. Whole character scales. It's great. And here we go. So now we got our character all set up. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to try to give him a little bit better of a pose because he has a better rig. Go like, jeez, that was a mistake. Something out like this. It goes like, you know, this is Overwatch. That and all this has been animated, you know, like whatever. And you gotta make the swish sound, you know? You gotta make the swish sounds. Gotta make those swishies like, super cool. So now we can totally see, you know, what our characters got going on here. I'm not gonna lie, it turned out pretty well. And yeah, it came together pretty well. So, I mean, this is like just getting you started with rigging. I mean, of course, you're probably watching this and thinking, well, he didn't do the eyes or the mouth or the face, but the principles all really apply, right? You put a bone, you skin some verts to it, you know, you work on the envelopes, you make it nice, you play around with the voxel solver, and eventually you get into weight painting and stuff like that. That's all more advanced than this right here. This is all just meant to be for a beginner. And the beautiful thing about it is it comes together really, really quickly. You can get a character going fast. It's somebody that looks good, bends correctly, and it works really, really well. So if this helps anybody out, that would be really, really great. There are, of course, much better ways to do this. You can create a control for every part of this guy. That's the crazy part. I'm not going to go and do that. You can create controls for each finger, for the shoulder blades, for the head, for parts of the chest. You can move the controllers outside of the body so you never actually have to grab a bone ever. And it just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of linking, but ultimately you can get that stuff going fairly quickly. I mean, I just encourage people to play around with it, experiment, try some things, you know, see if rigging agrees with them, and, you know, you might love it. You might be your life's calling. Who the fuck knows, man? Like, just get out there and rig so I don't have to. I hope you guys got a little bit out of this. Now, your other option, if you don't want to build your own rig, say you just want to, like, you know, have something build a rig for you. You can just take this entire guy, whatever, move him over. And if you happen to notice in my interface right here, I got this little bitty button right here. It's called Super Simple Rig Builder. Now, what is Super Simple Rig, you might ask late in this tutorial? Well, if you just pull up the internet and go to Super Simple Rig, it's Super Rune. The Super Simple Rig is a production-proven, super badass, awesome rigging tool. It's for 3D Studio Max. It requires a pin attribute holder, so I'm going to try to put that in the description if I can, or at least a link to it. And it's got tons of great documentation that lets you know how to do it. So let me show you how quickly it is to throw this guy together. So say we have a character, right? And we're gonna take this guy and just copy him over. Hit OK, kill the turbo smooth, kill the skin, there's our character. We're gonna grab him, we're gonna put him right here in the center of the world, and I'm gonna freeze him. Then we're gonna hide this dude, call it a day. So we're gonna open this guy up real quick. And the only thing you gotta worry about right now is create locators. I'm gonna walk you right through this. So you hit create locators, and if you just drag this like over here or whatever, you'll notice that this stuff appeared. See all these things? Like if you go to the left, you'll see these. Now these are just little bitty guys. You can kind of move them around and do whatever, but the way this works is you just put them right inside your characters. These little locators are gonna act as joints. So anywhere you put these guys is where they're gonna go. So all of these you're gonna want to do the proper stuff. Clearly, that's the head, this is the neck, eyes, jaw. Also, if you just want to do one side, so you're just gonna get this one side in place. Here. Again, remember hands. Hands are real complicated, remember? So just remember that each one of these is nothing but a joint locator. I mean, the beautiful thing about these is you can see these little bitty squares. Make it easy to see. And we're not gonna worry about the hands really. Just make sure the hips are in shape and the arms are good. And then you can just boop, right to left, like that quick. Super easy. Take this. And let's see, let's just give this one more over to make sure nothing is atrocious. That is atrocious, so. And the hand, let's see if I can just wedge it into place real quick. I am not gonna focus on making this hand perfect for this. So when you get it in good shape and everything's looking nice and you got all your locators set up, you just hit build rig. Oh my God, look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a rig. So I'll tell you what, let's take this guy and then we're gonna minimize that. And then let's put a skin on him and add in some bones. Check rig controllers. Oh my God, yes. They're already in layers and everything. It's super awesome. Yeah, so these are locators and controllers, locators, bones. So you come down here to bones, grab them all, hit OK, load them in, and just to be fast, I'm just gonna throw a Voxel Solver on this guy. So we'll do 2 here and 1024, hit apply. It'll take a second to think about it. Cool. And then we can start moving this guy around and see what he's like. Oh, look at that. Oh man, that's pretty good, like right off the bat almost. And plus he's got all these controllers kind of like set up and everything. It's like super sick, truthfully. I mean, he's even got like, if you go to local, he's got twisty bones and everything, so it like rolls up the arm. Anyway, they use this on all kinds of stuff, like The Walking Dead. I mean, it's in like every TV show ever. It's like the super best rig maker ever. Anyway, if you don't want to make your own rig, you can just use this. It's super good. It actually does cost a little bit of money, unfortunately. 50 bucks. I think you can extrapolate that it'll take you about 50 hours to make a decent rig of this quality when you can just spend $50 and make it in 2 seconds. So anyway, your option. Hope you're stuck around to the end. Later.